Hello.
Hey everyone, welcome. We are Mo and Mom Movie Reviews, and today we're going to be reviewing Parasite, which is a phenomenal movie. I think it's a mystery thriller.
It was billed as a comedy, even though I did laugh at some of the stuff. I felt bad about laughing. It was.
I laughed a little too much too. When she fell down the stairs, I laughed way hard, but then she thud at
It
the
was
end.
painful.
And this
But,
was a phenomenal movie out of South
excellent.
Korea.
Won so many awards.
So many awards.
It was excellent. It deserved to.
The acting was amazing.
Acting was wonderful.
The cinematography was amazing. The
Loved all the visual metaphors in it. It
Oh
was
my
just
gosh.
beautifully done.
very well done. And
But it's a bit of a mind twist.
oh, is it not? Let's go ahead and start with our premise real quick, which you
basically,
came up with really
well, to me, it strikes me as the differences between classes, which, I think the Middle Ages, the vast difference between peasants and royalty. And here we sort of have the same thing where we have a family that's very much struggling, and then we have a very wealthy family. And when the two meet, the emotional and psychological variances that take place cause a lot of unusual reactions.
It's like that all over the world. You have such a huge divide between we have a family that's struggling to make it on a day-to-day basis versus a family who doesn't even look at what something costs.
Exactly.
They want the best of the best regardless of what it is. So I don't know a single country that doesn't seem to have that problem
yes.
that comes to mind automatically, but most of the larger ones, you will see that huge divide. So I think this movie speaks to a lot of different countries besides just Korea. So it starts with our poor family, who we automatically think is a little bit under, because they're in a sub-basement. They're obviously below the street. I think the only thing that is on the street level is maybe their toilet, because it has to be up that high for plumbing reasons. And real quick, we get that they are struggling to meet,
borrowing their internet, trying to do any sort of job they can get their hands on. And then a friend of the family shows up and brings them a scholar rock, which I really wasn't sure. We had to look that up, what the significance of that, which also plays beautifully throughout the entire movie, I think. But our friend asks a favor of the oldest son, whose name was
Cute
and
is
he has had a fabulous job tutoring this wealthy family, and he doesn't trust his college friends because he has a crush on one of the girls. And once
it's
he gets
the girl he's tutoring.
right, and once
very
he gets
much.
done with his studying, he plans to come back and pursue her further. But he trusts our young man that's in our family
Yes, our main character.
to not do what his college buddies were, and to be loyal to him.
To take over his tutoring position.
Right.
And our character is a little hesitant because he doesn't quite have the certificates behind it, but his sister is brilliant.
Oh, she's a good.
The whole family is really actually brilliant at doing this, but
Yes.
she goes and makes him a fake college certificate,
Right.
is what it looks like. And Q takes it and he's like, this is not really lying, because I'm going to do this next year. I
Right.
really want to go to school and I'm going to have this for myself.
So I'm just getting this a little ahead of time, is all.
That's it.
So
And-
that's how he convinces himself.
Well, it helps him get this position, which he obviously pays very well. He impresses the young mother. And speaking of which, I think his friend warns him that our wealthy
He says
families,
she's a little simple. is
she's
what
young
it is.
and she's simple.
I took her as being very sweet and a bit naive, but obviously, like when the maid has to wake her up, very disrespectfully slapping her hands
That's
like that.
very strange.
Well-
when we meet her, she's asleep on a table.
I
Our
come
rich
to
mother.
understand that she has something that's prevalent here in the U.S., where bored housewives lean towards drugs.
They get bored. We actually call it here the housewife syndrome. And it's where you get prescription drugs that kind of help the day go by a little bit easier. And I'm not sure quite what this lady's on, but they do refer
They
a
do
few
allude to
times
that later,
that she has a drug issue. But it's very strange for her to be asleep on the table and the maid smacks her hands and she wakes up.
Yeah,
So
I thought that was a little odd too.
it was very odd. So we find out real quick that they are very trusting, our wealthy family. They are very naive and they are easy to manipulate.
Well, obviously so, as the son is able to eventually work so his entire family ends up working. I mean, they do some unscrupulous things. They end
do.
up getting rid of the maid that has been there, the old maid has been there for
driver.
a long time, and the driver. So dad gets the driving position. Sister gets the position of being the art teacher.
For the son, yes. For the,
Yes.
the wealthy young boy.
Mom takes the position of the old maid. So they've just all moved in, which coincides with our title, Parasite.
So once our poor family, we'll refer to them as, starts working for the wealthy family, they start getting very comfortable and start taking a little bit of advantage of their position, and you assume that they're our parasite.
Yes, you initially assume that.
Then things turn quite heavy as our wealthy family leaves on vacation. They go on a camping trip, right?
Right.
And our poor family takes advantage of that.
Well, they get a
and
little
Ki-woo
vacation
and everybody,
themselves,
they
and
start drinking and having too much fun, and then ding dong,
here comes the old
all
maid.
hell breaks loose.
Yes, and for some
Something's
reason she
weird.
wants to go down into the basement, and we don't understand what she's up to. And we find out her husband, this is actually, a lot of these houses had bomb shelters built into them. So this has an elaborate underground basement that has been hidden behind beautifully camouflaged doors. So
But our old maid,
our people
obviously-
living there have no idea they've got a bomb shelter under there where this old man is living, older man.
Oh, yeah.
Living. So she goes down to her husband.
Yeah, he's very much off. He's been living there for years. You can tell but he has actually had the same thing happen to him.
He was in the same situation as our poor family. He lost his shop, and the debtors are so after him. Even after 4 years, they're still after him. And we found out earlier that our family also is living poorly because of the same situation. They had a shop, and it all went downhill.
And they're trying to make
So
up
they're very
for it.
similar.
So now we have a big clash of who does not want our rich family to find out that they're lying, and this is where people start getting hurt. Yeah. It's funny, it's not funny, I'll leave it up to you to decide.
Yes, very much so.
Don't think badly of me because I thought it was funny until
Some
you
of it
see
was.
how dire
Right,
it turns.
right.
But without giving too much away, we do have a couple of events that lead up to our finale, which is pretty stabby.
Very, very shocking.
We do have, I want to talk about the smell. I think that's so important in this movie.
That was.
At some point, the young wealthy boy
little
who's
6,
being
7-year-old
taught by
boy.
Jessica,
Yes.
who is our sister of the poor family, notices that all of the people now working for his family smell the same, which is a big problem because they don't want our rich family to know that they're related. They're supposed to be from all over the world. And
Well, Dad brings up how the driver, he keeps noticing a smell wafting off the driver, and he can't quite describe it. And a little bit later on in the movie, Mom notices the same smell.
I think maybe that's after, so our sub-basement floods.
Right.
And the sewage comes in, and of course that's not a smell but that anybody really wants to deal with, but they certainly pick up, and it is very much a noticeable thing, a
Well,
characteristic
it really
throughout the
bothers
movie.
Dad a lot. It obviously, because he can't pinpoint why he smells so differently enough for them to pick up on it. It's just very insulting to him.
The wealthy family does keep pushing our family harder and harder, and at some point I feel like he's asking them to trade in their pride for their job, which is very who's not going to do it when you need to put food on your table?
They
but
seem to feel that way.
at what cost is it worth trading your pride, your humanity
Right.
for your family? That's such a difficult thing to ask of a human.
Yes.
So we have a snapping point, and our dad ends up making a bad decision. And I think it's when
Everything explodes.
Everything
at the end.
explodes.
Yes, but
our crazy guy gets out of the basement, comes out. Dad ends up in the mix of all of
tell you what,
this.
that was a fabulous birthday scene.
Oh,
It
my
was glued to the TV, going, "Oh my!"
Oh, you can't look away.
It was fabulous.
Very well done and very shocking. I don't want to say too much,
Yeah.
but our poor dad, who we like so much and such a good actor, he ends up in the basement where the crazy guy was, and he ends up living as this guy was.
He takes the original guy's place.
So now our parasite has gone from our poor family to, I think the wealthy family is the parasite too. You mentioned
Well, it's like everybody's a
parasite.
parasite living off of each other. But you know what? A good parasite never kills his host.
That's a good point.
We learned that in vet school.
And that's how the movie ended, is you cannot live without a host.
Exactly.
So it had a wonderful
I
ending.
love the ending because we both took it differently, and I like the way we both took it. So we're going to leave that up to you as how you can interpret it in a variety of different ways.
You can't. Well, you took it in a good way. You thought that everything was going to be okay. He was going to make the money and go buy the house.
He had a plan.
And Dad was going to reunite with the family. I think he was hit a little too hard in the head ironically with the Scholar Rock, which was what kind of fueled the good luck of their transition throughout the movie. And ironically, he gets really damaged by it at
It
the
looks
end.
so good.
And for him to have this, I don't know, like American ending, everything's going to be happy and sparkly and shiny, and then it ends
Realistically,
backing out of him still sitting in that sub basement, and it's dark, and you've got the snow falling in the background. It's just the complete opposite of what he has in his head. I think it's not going to happen. I think it's all in his head. So I took it the worst way possible. You took it the best way possible. We want to know what you think.
Yes.
So please let us know. Please watch Parasite if you haven't. We've completely ruined it for you.
You will thoroughly enjoy it.
It is
We left out enough twists, but
so
it's
much
worth
better
seeing.
than our reviews. Most
It's
of our
definitely
movies are.
one of the top 10 I've seen in the last decade. Let's
Oh
put it
gosh,
that way.
watch it. Yeah, we've watched it several times since it came out.
And
I can't
we'll
wait to
watch
see
it again.
Yeah, anyways, we really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
We hope to see you again soon.
Have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful day.
Bye.